And now let's hear it for all of our partners. And would you turn to one another and give applause to all of you, because you are the ones that are going to witness the end of racism, systemic racism in this country. My brothers and sisters, I want to say it loud enough so that they hear it all the way over at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And I want to say it loud enough so that they hear it in the halls of Congress behind us, that we have come to declare that racism will die. And we have come to declare that this is more than just an event on today. We are here to declare that just as persons have traveled from all over the country, we're going back, but we're going back empowered, and we're going back informed, and we're going back to be agents of transformation in this country. 50 years ago today, a grandfather held his grandson in his arms, and with tears coming down his cheek, he explained to his grandson that the evil of racism robbed this country of one of its greatest leaders. The three evils that MLK confronted and condemned, racism, militarism, and poverty, continue to rob this nation of its potential. Racism remains the single most malignant and resilient disease infecting the soul of America. But racism is the poisonous fruit of which white privilege and supremacy is the dangerous root. You must address the root in order to deal with the fruit. It doesn't start with the burning of crosses on a lawn. It starts with valuing white lives more than you value black and brown lives. We must speak the truth in the days, months, and weeks ahead. And so, I hereby, as a bishop in the Lord's church, ordain you as preachers of the gospel and invest you with the authority to go and cry loud and spare not, lifting up your voice like a trumpet in Zion. The words of the 8th century Jewish prophet ring in our ears clearly. God has told you, O human, what is good. That what God requires of us is to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. The church too often would rather love mercy than do justice. When the church prays for families of unarmed black men killed on the streets by police, that's the church loving mercy. But when the church confronts the values of black lives and boldly declare that black lives matter, that is the church doing justice. When the church provides water for families in Flint, Michigan, who are still without clean water to this day, that's the church loving mercy. But when the church challenges politicians who tolerate such immorality, that is the church doing justice. When the church receives offerings to send food and clothing to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, that is the church loving mercy. But when the church asks why the disparity in the response in Puerto Rico compared to those in Texas and Florida, that is the church doing justice. When the church visits prisons and supports reentry programs, that is the church loving mercy. But when the church supports criminal justice reform and reparative justice, that is the church doing justice. When the church sponsors food drives and clothing closets for the poor, that is the church loving mercy. But when the church advocates for policies that invest in people rather than cutting taxes for the most wealthy in this country, that is the church doing justice. When the church volunteers for health care clinics, that is the church loving mercy. But when the church demands that a basic human right is affordable, accessible health care for all, that is the church doing justice. When the church has MLK Day programs and multiracial worship services, that's the church loving mercy. But when the church calls out politicians who would further divide us, policies that marginalize us, and systems that oppress us, that is the church doing justice. I recently talked with 6 brothers who are white, and one of them has adopted a black son. And he asked me, he said, "Bishop Moore, tell these other men what it's like to have the talk with your son." And I said to them, "Have any of you ever had to have the talk with your children?" They said, "Yes, we've had to talk about the birds and the bees." I said, "No, that's not the talk. The talk is that I have a 25-year-old son, and he cannot leave the house without me reminding him, if you are pulled over by a policeman, don't make any sudden moves. Don't raise your voice. Don't confront. Don't argue. Place your hands where they could be seen. Speak politely." Because that's the trauma that every parent of a black man or a black woman has when their child leaves the house. 50 years ago, King was assassinated because people could not believe that blacks and whites could come together. And yet here we are 50 years later, and still there are black lives that are snuffed out every day. Where is the outrage? Where is the cry of our white brothers and sisters in the church and out of the church? An African proverb says, when a thorn pierces the foot, the entire body bends to pull it out. Well, if you're not crying out and outraged about what's happening in this country, we are suspect of your claim to be a part of the body of Christ and the community of faith. These, our partners here, stand together to say enough with complicity, silence, and with compromise. We declare that racism must end. We are tired of our children being hashtags. Hashtag Trayvon Martin, hashtag Tamir Rice, hashtag Sandra Bland, hashtag Freddie Gray, hashtag Rika Boyd, hashtag Michael Brown, hashtag John Crawford. And when I look at my son and my grandson, I pray 50 years from now, Kevin, I pledge to you as your grandfather that 50 years from now, you'll be able to stand and not be judged by the color of your skin. Kevin, I speak into your life. You shall live and not die. Kevin, we will work together, pray together, live together, love together, because racism in 2018 has met its match. Look at us together on one accord. So walk together, children. Pray together, children. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. God bless you. There's a brighter day. And now, unto him who is able. Do you believe he's able? Now! present you faultless, without race, without denomination. Present you faultless before his presence with exceeding great joy. To the only wise God be glory, be majesty, be dominion, and be power, because a brighter day is coming. And the people of God said, amen, amen.